So let's turn to the discussion, and I can see one question here for Andrea from Fred Dagnon, and I read it out here. Do inter-individual differences in human performance tend to grow or decrease as participants get more and more practice? In other words, is there a convergence or a divergence across subjects as learning progresses?
Frederick, very good questions, but really we cannot answer at this point, mainly because in order to characterize differences within differences, essentially, if the population, how it's distributed, we need, and this is one of the limitations of inter-individual differences research, you need a large number of subjects, so you need to have a large population. No? So in the relatively small data sample, we can see that there are clearly two clusters of subjects, so we call them learners and non-learners. But maybe we are planning to do longer experiments and possibly recruit more subjects. At that point, we can see over time there are also more differences. Good question, but hard to answer.
Can I chime in? Because we have actually looked at that in one study with 16 participants over 20 sessions over 2 months, as well as with a 6-month and ultimately 8-year retention test. And we allowed the subjects to do their own style, just like in Andrea's work. The task was a bimanual polyrhythmic task with Sewong Park. And we could see that each of the subjects converged to their very idiosyncratic signature that was amazingly different, even though the task was much less rich than the full body throwing task. And there was no sign of convergence to the one optimal solution. There were 16 subjects and 16 solutions. And they stayed over 20 sessions after 3 months, after 6 months, and with a few examples after 8 years.
Yeah, and this would be my expectation. Really. The more complex, the more solutions there are. And so we really can ask why there are different solutions, why there is not a global optimum.
So I move on with one more, or rather 2 questions to Andrea, all in one. And if we think of expert sports practitioners, would they fall within the average synergy tool set for a specific task? Or would experts develop an outlier expert synergy with practice?
Good question also, and also depends a lot on the task, I think. Actually, Lina Ting has done work on experts looking at balancing tasks on the lower limb. And maybe that with expertise, you have some optimized synergies for that specific expertise. But it may also be that expertise can also in a sense, the experts are really a narrower distribution with respect to the large population. So it may be that there are more similarity between, in fact, a lot of the performance or sports research is done by comparing groups, experts versus novices. But there is a broad population of novices with maybe more information about, if the real question is not application, but what is the learning mechanisms, maybe the non-experts are actually more informed.
Again, I want to chime in to add, because I heard in a couple of talks the importance of considering both object or task and the body. And specifically with athletes, experts of sorts, they have not only amazing skills, but also specific body features that co-determines the kind of idiosyncratic solution that they ultimately excel in. And oh my God, Michael Phelps is always used as one of the examples with his amazing upper extremities that he utilized to the utmost.
And ultimately,
and there was a second, sorry.
The real, for a neuroscientist as we are, the real ultimate quest is understanding then at the neural level in the brain, what is different. And maybe there are some features, and this goes back to the the individual difference research in psychology. Maybe there are some features that are determined by particular ways the brain wires up even during development. So many possible interesting questions to be asked looking at differences. Yeah.
So I may just go to the second part of this question on the interaction of the two approaches, that is body synergy and the Hessian decomposition. On your opinion, can practice in synergy space lead to systematically to excellence in the task space?
This is our hope and our goal. In a sense, if we identify a few parameters that really correlate with performance, and of course, it's not just a single point parameter, these are manifold. As you saw, there are different same performance associated with different sort of features, different indicators, different parameters. Then one can ask, what are actually the strategies, even at the level of the muscle synergy, that generates the different sort of features in behavioral space, and then try to train people to, depending on where they are in this space, which is still a manageable space because there's a low-dimensional space, train people towards the right direction in their sort of performance curve. So, and the key point is that because there are many sort of equivalent solutions, essentially, the direction of training, so the particular feedback you have to provide, for example, to train a movement, will depend on the individual features. So that has to be customized. The hope is that with this description, we will sort of find the potential also useful intervention, quoting from Dagmar, that will improve learning.
I would want to join in, but I'm disciplining myself, and I will pick a question for Matteo. Once you detect the grasp is unstable at runtime, you need to determine a new grasp. Is the fact that the hand limited in number of degrees of freedom, is that an issue when it comes to regrasp?
And this is a very, very interesting question, because of course, the limited number of degrees of actuation could not offer eventually the same solutions that a completely actuated hand could offer. But in this case, there could be two solutions. One is to regrasp still using the environment. So using the environment as an additional constraints for the grasp, or in bimanual manipulation, we can use the other arm to complete the grasp and lead it to a successful one.
Okay, and there's a short question as a last one from Madhu to everyone, but I guess this is also for you, Matteo. What was the nature of the failure of the precision grasps?
Yes, so this is a very good question, because probably I was very fast on this. So we consider the failure of a grasp when the object is already in the hand. So we consider, we did not do a differentiation between a precision grasp and the power grasp for the failure, but we only consider the case when the object is starting to fall down from the hand. For the precision grasp, the consideration about the precision grasp was when we have to catch the object from the table, from an environment. In that case, what I wanted to stress is that even if the hand we consider can only perform a powered grasp, we can use the environment to perform a pinch grasp. But at this stage, for the failure detection and prediction, we do not do a distinction between the power and the precision grasp failure.
Okay, thank you. We're a little bit behind schedule, but we only have 2 more sessions left. That is a range of spotlights that Aude will direct, and then of course the closing lecture with Etienne and an open discussion at the end. So please, Aude.